hard work is the key to success, then why do millions of full-time employees live in poverty? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicholas, and today I will be explaining why the federal minimum wage should be raised and why the United States would only benefit from providing a fair wage to all workers. Minimum wage workers make up millions of today's workforce. The reality of the current minimum wage rate, still set at $7.25 an hour, is that it can no longer accommodate the cost of living. This must change to reduce poverty rates and set a standard of care for the average worker. As someone who has lived experience trying to get by on minimum wage and barely being able to do so, I've been inspired to deep dive into research on how the current wage rate is not aligned with the needs of workers. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2022, 20.4% of total nation employment were jobs that paid less than $15 an hour. Today I will describe three main points to hopefully enlighten you on the details of this issue. 1. The current minimum wage rate is unlivable with the current cost of living. 2. Raising minimum wage is vital for a strong standard of living. And 3. Raising the minimum wage is overdue and will therefore positively stimulate the economy. My first main point is that the current minimum wage rate is unlivable with the cost of living in the United States. Housing is essential for every individual. The cost of housing, alongside other necessities, including groceries, healthcare, and so on, have risen in recent years, and many Americans simply cannot keep up. Research by the Low Income Housing Coalition shows that 50% of workers earn an hourly wage that cannot afford a standard one-bedroom apartment, using the recommended 30% of their income. This is clearly a crisis that must be addressed. According to research by Drexel University, minimum wage fails to meet the average living wage, which calculates in the cost of living. This living wage, which varies depending on location, exceeds minimum wage by over triple in some states. Now that I've explained the shortcomings of the current minimum wage rate, I'll explain how raising it will positively affect the economy altogether. Studies on the wage rates have shown that higher wages improve both the mental and physical well-beings of workers. Higher wages also positively affect rate of worker retention altogether. There's an overall positive impact on workers when the wage is higher. It is not unreasonable to assume that those who work full-time yet remain below the poverty line are suffering, not only financially, but mentally and physically. The finances on an individual are key to ensuring they are well taken care of, and it is the duty of the government to create laws and regulations to protect and empower its people. According to the Center for American Progress, raising the minimum wage would reduce the usage of living assistance programs, such as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which millions of low-paid workers rely on every day for their groceries. Some argue that the key to cutting down the amount of individuals who rely on government assistance programs is to cut the programs themselves. This would most likely have an overall negative effect and harm the public as a whole. Instead, the solution is to empower workers to take care of themselves by paying them a livable wage. Overall, raising the minimum wage rate would improve financial stability for millions of Americans who would be able to more independently care for their finances without rely on government assistance. This would allow them to afford daily necessities. In addition to the positive impact on individual workers, raising minimum wage will also serve to stimulate the economy as a whole. This change is overdue, and although there is concern that the economy would be unable to handle such a change, the opposite is actually true. It would grow the economy through increased spending. Because of low wages, many people are unable to spend their income outside of their bare necessities. Because of this survival-like spending, a wage increase would mean more people would spend more money, which would stimulate the economy as a whole. The increase would ultimately affect everyone, not just those with higher wages. The Congressional Budget Office describes that a change in wage rate would serve to move many low-wage workers out of poverty. This is true, as inflation has increased so dramatically since the previous wage rate was set, and so the cost of living is now misaligned with the current wage rate. This results in millions working full-time while still living in poverty. Some people argue that local businesses could not afford to increase their minimum wage for their employees. While this may be true in some cases, if the wage rate was increased federally, it would encourage greater spending at local businesses and therefore allow these businesses to pay their employees at a higher rate. States and cities who have increased their minimum wage laws have seen a boost in economic activity. These areas are therefore able to accommodate healthier and more robust community with a wide variety of businesses. It is well known economically that the more income available to public means more money spent. In conclusion, it is clear that raising the federal minimum wage is an essential step in promoting economic fairness and growth. This would provide a better economy for the United States as a whole and a better standard of living for its citizens. This change is long overdue. It is shown through evidence that raising the wage rate will provide better and fairer opportunities for workers, improve quality of living for those workers, and boost the economy altogether. To quote Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., "It is a crime for people to live in this rich nation and receive starvation wages." Thank you.